Hi, how are you doing? Hope you're doing great and you're enjoying this new weather coming in as we march closer to full winter. I just had some thoughts on the war in Gaza and Israel. It's been shown over years that people who are in very stressful conditions, especially long term stressful conditions, have changes in their brains. They aren't secreting various substances from their brains in a normal fashion, and this results in problems with sleep, psychosis, uh, interpretation of actions, irritability, agitation, and so forth. And these things can become long term, and over generations, they can become even permanent. Well, what is permanent? It's hard to know. How much of that is related to the environment after a person is born, and how much of that is related to genetics due to generation after generation of stress, hostilities, fighting, and just hatred of another group. Well, we can see that in American blacks who were slaves for generations, there were problems that developed with stress, anger, hostilities, some of which seem to be stronger in some groups than in others. Which groups these are really hasn't been studied, but you can see that some people, even though they are exposed to a fairly normal American lifestyle, still have a lot of the stress, anxiety, and hostilities that are drawn from their ancestors. I thought of this as I was watching the Mike Johnson situation with his son, where he took in a 14-year-old troubled black youth and raised him, I think, until full adulthood. Now, I can't really speak for Mike Johnson and his son because, well, it's not really his son, it's just a person he took care of, because I don't really know their history and they want to be secretive, and I don't know what's going on with Mike Johnson's genetic children. But just from the news, it seems that this boy who was taken in, who was black, seemed to still go on to follow criminal pathways, even though from the age of approximately 14, he was in an environment that was safe, where he had access to education, where he was able to experience a less stressful lifestyle and so forth, but he still went into criminal activity. Why? Well, I don't really know, but it would be interesting to study this family and see what happened to the boy. I think his name is Mike James. In other families, I'm thinking about the families of the Palestinians and the Israelis. These people have been fighting forever and just can't seem to get along. So they're living in 24-hour stress, hostility, negativity. They've even built bunkers in their homes to protect one from the other. They're building these tunnels for protection and hiding bombs various places, and on guard duty they have military guarding the Palestinians every day, all day, because of constant fear. So what does this do to the brain? Hold on here, let me check this. Well, we don't really know but I'm very sure it's causing neurochemical changes. And over generations, these people are having decreases in certain neurochemicals, and they are having changes in their brain anatomy, neuroanatomy. It would be interesting to check out the brains of some of the deceased and see what kinds of brain changes may be going on in the Israeli and the Palestinian brains. They, to me, are pretty much the same people. The Israelis and the Palestinians, although they are different groups, to me, they are the same people. They both have this constant hatred one for the other. It's kind of like dogs and cats. Even though one might not be bothering the other, there is constant stress and fear just by being in the same vicinity. And the reason why this is happening may be real, or it may be just part of their developed neurochemistry. In other words, they're going to feel like this no matter what goes on. Some people say, well, and I believe it's Netanyahu is saying, well, we'll just go in and wipe out the Palestinians, we'll take over Gaza, then all will be fine. I don't believe that's true, because the Israelis have neurochemical changes, and no matter who they're next to, they are still going to have these negativities, this adversity, this stress, this fear of another. So if they take over Gaza, they will just transfer their problems to Egypt, Jordan, or some other country, because they're the same brain makeup in the future as they are now. And I think that in order to find peace in Israel, you're really going to have to change the neurochemistry of the Israelis. And the same with the Palestinians. No matter where you put the Palestinians, they're going to have problems with their neighbors. It's interesting that all of the people who surround this warring area, no one has volunteered to take in the Palestinians. Other Muslim countries have not opened their doors and said, come on in, we're of the same religious belief, we'll help you out, we'll help you save your people, which is the most important thing. And you can talk about land later, because land is always there and you don't have to fix that immediately, but you do have to save your people before they get bombed out. But no one has spoken up, none of the Muslim countries have spoken up to say Palestinians are people that can get along in my country and they are welcome to come here. Now, some people want them to come to the United States. I think that would be a disaster because they have this different neurochemistry. Same with the Israelis. You don't want them to come to the United States because they have this change in their neurochemistry. And until we are able to study what kinds of negative changes they have undergone and find ways to correct this problem, they will always be warring peoples. So the Israelis, I have not visited Israel, but I'm assuming they get along with each other. That may not be true. Israel seems to be pretty much like a lot of the Muslim countries, very strict rules on how to dress and how to act, and you can be suffer tremendous problems or even death if you try to violate these religious rules. So Palestinians, Israelis, to me, different sides of the same coin, and I think they really need to be studied if there's going to be peace. And just making Israel bigger by taking over Gaza isn't going to alleviate any of the regional problems. You're going to have the exact same problems because Israelis are mentally different. They are mentally different because of their constant exposure to fighting, being distrustful, argumentative, and domineering, and so forth. And the same with the Palestinians. So that was just a thought that came to me as I was looking at some of the problems that people are facing in trying to make these people get along and make the region safe. But I don't think it's possible. I think if either group stays in that area, there is always going to be warring, threats, hoarding of military paraphernalia, threats of bombing, killing, aggression, taking over property, so that Israel might go down and start taking over property in Egypt, or start taking property in Jordan, or whatever. But I think that aggression is part of their neurochemistry, and somebody is going to have to study this. I would love to study it, but I don't have the resources. But people who do should take a look at these problems and analyze the mental and neurophysical properties of both sides and see what is going on. It could even be parasites. There could be parasites that might have taken over the brains of people in this area, since they're both drinking the same water, they're both eating the same type of foods, and so forth. It could also be something in the diet, it could be something in the water, it could be something airborne. Now, in addition, we also have to recognize that all of this bombing is causing vaporization of water. Not only salt water, making the water in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean more saline, but also fresh water. And that water will go up as a vapor, it will split, and it will not come down as water in rain. It will stay forever in the air. And you will also have vaporization of all of the pollutants, cement and all kinds of other debris that will go into the air to form pollution in that area. And that's something that also needs to be investigated, as well as the effects of all of this bombing on the environment, causing increase in world temperature, change in weather patterns, flooding in some areas, and drought in others. And how are these countries going to help people who are affected by the loss of water, the increased air pollution, and so forth in areas that are not associated with the war, but who are feeling the after effects? I think those people in Ethiopia, for example, and Somalia, should be compensated for the environmental losses that they're going to suffer because of these continual war shootings and bombings, and even considering nuclear explosions to get rid of one another. So just a thought, but I think it's very interesting, and I would love to see someone who is involved with these groups as to what they feel is going on with them mentally on both sides. Well, like and subscribe. Bye.